I'll make a start. I'm Helen Brown, I'm the statistician at the Roslin Institute, so I'll be giving the training sessions that we're holding here. Yeah, well this slide is really just about convincing you that it is a good idea to spend a bit of time learning about statistics. You'll probably in your research be collecting data, and you really want to make the most efficient use you can of that data, and that'll kind of save effort, and if you don't, if you won't have to do more studies if you reach your conclusions with the data you've already collected, and it'll save expense as well. If you're dealing with animals, there are also ethical considerations. You want to use as fewer animals as possible, so it's quite important to make sure you use the right number of animals and you use the data as efficiently as possible. Another advantage is when you'll probably publish some of your work at some stage. Statistical reviewers are increasingly used on scientific journals now. In medicine, that is definitely the case. Most journals have a statistician looking through your paper to check your statistics are satisfactory. It's becoming more common now in scientific publications. And you're likely to get into sort of higher impact journals. They tend to be stricter about the statistics if you've done a good job in that direction. So it is to your benefit. It's not just a sort of an essential evil that you have to kind of learn a bit about to analyse your data. I thought I should just put things in perspective, because there's actually, as a practicing statistician, I've realised there's a lot of different skills that come into doing statistical analysis. It isn't just a question of learning about a technique and pressing some buttons, applying a program. And in the past, it was sort of very much a branch of mathematics, and people, because it all had to be done by hand, people would understand the mathematics and then kind of do their calculations with a calculator by hand. But really now that's only a small part of doing statistical analysis, and in fact a lot of people don't understand the details of the mathematics. It's not essential to do that because we've now got statistical software. But there's all these other skills which are also important, from designing your experiment, thinking carefully about that, and we'll have a session just dedicated to experimental design early next year, so that's a sort of separate skill in itself, but still important because it affects the analyses you're going to be able to do, so you want to start thinking about them at that stage. Data preparation, data management, there's the skills involved there, so that's something else that's important. You'll need to, unless you're doing very basic analyses, which can be done by hand, but it's most usual now for people to use a statistical software package. So you'll need to get to grips with one of these. You can do very basic statistics in Excel, but probably there's several other packages which are simple to use, which will take you a bit further with statistics, which would be worth spending a bit of time learning. There's basic statistical techniques, which is what I'll be going through in these sessions. Judging, I put statistical judgment here, so kind of thinking about which technique's appropriate, which way to analyse your data, what you want to test. There's all sorts of decisions that get made, and sometimes there's lots of different choices that can be made about how a particular set of data are analysed. There's a certain amount of experience and skill needed in judging what route you take. And then once you've got your analysis out, there's a skill involved in interpreting it and making sure you draw the right conclusions from the analysis. And then, of course, presenting your results. You can do all sorts of analyses, but unless you present them effectively, they're not going to be, you're not going to get your message over to the audience that you want to. Yeah, I thought it was just worth sort of putting things in perspective, and that we'll be, in these sessions, just concentrating on techniques and understanding techniques rather than even looking at statistical software.